Happy Friday morning, everybody. Shad Dale's here, Trade to Black podcast. Hope you all had a great week as we're back here at the studio again. Interesting times earlier this week in Chicago. Lots to talk about. It's actually a slower morning here this morning, but it's Friday. We'd like to finish things off kind of on a lighter note, talk about some things in the industry, and really recap the week as a whole. And next week, big week, I'll be overseas in Berlin at Mary Jane next Thursday. Going to have Raj Grover from High Tide on. So that'll be an interesting live stream on the floor. And Anthony will be holding the fort down at home as well. He's got some great guests. But before we get that, we've got today's show, including some stuff about hemp, North Carolina, among other things. Let's welcome in the gents, as Guap's going to join us as well. But first, let's welcome in AV.
How's it going?
And Guap. Good to see you guys.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah.
I'm ready for a nap. It's been a long week. Lots of energy here this morning. In radio, when some of the DJs would go out the night before, they'd go and play nonstop music for 3 hours, and this could be one of those shows. But all in all,
one of the comments who suspects that many of these public companies will be bankrupt by Q1 of 2026. Stay clear. Hope that guy knows how to read a balance sheet.
That's the first time. I don't think I've seen that name before. Justin.
Oh, he's in here all the time. I know exactly who that is. Yeah.
Big free rights.
He had a lot of conviction that S3 was going to pass before the election. Tons.
Yeah. So how was the week? Guap, how was your week, sir?
Pretty good. I mean, I didn't go to Chicago, so I should be more well-rested than you. But I got to say, guys, this space is tiring.
It's a little exhausting. You know what's really exhausting is I got an invoice this morning from the crew that set up our hardwire Ethernet cable for internet service, which was garbage. And they wanted to charge
me. They did a great job.
$377 just to plug an Ethernet cable into the wall and another $577 for labor.
That's why unions aren't exactly a good thing.
That's
they just
amazing.
arbitrarily charge you extremely large numbers, then you get to negotiate and then play the prices right.
Yeah, we're down to $100. We're down to $100 now. So they've gone down from 944 to 100.
It's worse than the healthcare system that sends you a bill for like $100,000. Then the insurance company is like, yeah, maybe I'll pay you 20. Then they're like, well, we can settle at 35, and then they wind up at 10. So it's just a very inefficient process.
All right. So
my 56K modem had better bandwidth than what I saw out of Benzino. That was rough.
Hear you, Doug. Damn, I need to be a cable guy. Me too. So maybe that's what it is. TDR needs to change to TCR, the cable report. Deep in it. No.
Let's just.
That's bad.
Yeah, that's pretty bad.
So we're going to talk about hockey in Israel for an hour today. Is that the
plan?
Whoa. That what Ron Burgundy's
Just kidding. Just cannabis today, please.
Right.
That came out of nowhere.
Guap's canceled.
I'd lay low if I were you. You're going to be wanted for murder.
Arns, do your thing.
Anchorman. Panthers, David Benz, tough loss. I looked at that game last night after the first.
No, don't do it.
I missed the first trade. I'm like, this series is over. And then something happened. And we'll just leave it at that because AV's not happy this morning at all.
It is what it is.
Get a portable Starlink. Thanks, Mark Landers. I should get that next week when I'm in Berlin. All right, let's get into it because there's actually some interesting topics here today that we want to highlight, including obviously hemp, and more hemp. So let's get into it and start with the hemp crackdowns and regulatory chaos. Start with the June 4th webinar, which was hosted by Attorney General Alliance regulators from Florida, Oregon, and Nevada and California. They all confirmed what many in the industry already know. Intoxicating hemp products like Delta-8 have flooded the market and the laws are barely keeping up. And that's, putting it mildly, to say the least. Did you guys get a chance to see this topic in a little bit? And what stood out to you, Anthony?
So did not actually get to see the webinar, but I mean, one of the big takeaways is they want to find sensible regulations for the category.
Yeah.
They see the products. I don't know how much they understand the products because I don't think you can sit there and make sensible regulations that don't fall under the purview of the state-run cannabis industry without putting those same regulations on the hemp industry, as THC is THC. But if we continue having these conversations versus outright bans, I think there's going to be a crossroads that someone's going to come to, and there's going to be an aha moment where Delta 9 THC that's inherent in hemp is the same Delta 9 THC that's inherent in the marijuana industry, and there needs to be a give somewhere. Maybe it's creating a more lenient structure for the state-run industry. Maybe it's descheduling. Something's going to come to a head because they can't want sensible regulation for hemp without the same regulation for cannabis.
When you say descheduling, are you applying that to marijuana?
Yeah.
Wow.
You can't have lawmakers sit here and say, yes, we want to carve out for and I completely agree with the carve out for beverages and low dose edibles. We'll use that as an example. You can't have people sit there and say, okay, these Delta 9 THC products are going to be specially treated, allowed to be sold in retail stores, not going to pay taxes, but state-run cannabis businesses that sell the same molecule now still have to pay 280E, still have to go under these onerous regulations. There's no world where that makes sense.
None.
Hopefully, if hemp does get this sort of special treatment, that does cause regulation and reform to happen at an expeditious rate within the cannabis industry that we know. Not saying that's going to happen, but common sense would tell you can't have one without the other. It's almost a Trojan horse.
Did you get any feedback while you were in Chicago this week talking to people, like how much Washington is paying attention to this? Any feedback at all? None, huh?
Yeah.
You got to think. Go ahead, Guap.
Yeah. The way I look at this is, the very first appearance that I had on the show, I was talking a little bit about the Farm Bill and hemp, and we're coming up on almost a year and a half, 2 years ago. And I'm surprised it's taken the feds this long to do anything about it. You're seeing a lot of state level bans, if you will. You've got three options: ignore it and let what happens happen. And you can see what's happened in Texas and North Carolina, right? You can ban it, which seems to be like the Texas approach, a couple other states as well. Or you can regulate it, and that's far more difficult. And the more I learn about and talk to some of these politicians and lawmakers, they're dealing with so many things that the complex cannabis issue is almost like a problem child that they don't know what to do with. And so they've ignored it for a while. And the regulating part, that option, banning's easy. Regulating it and trying to get, something like we talked about last week in North Carolina, like grandfathering in a pathway to citizenship, if you will, for certain cannabis players in North Carolina that are growing hemp, right? That's far more difficult. And so on some level, it's not surprising to see attorneys general trying to get together and figure out what to do here. But I can't even believe that it's taken this long, to be honest.
But hold on. For instance, North Carolina, grandfathering in the hemp businesses that are already operating, that's easy. That's the easy route. Set up the licensing structure, allow them to operate. They're not going to be in the hemp industry anymore. They're going to be growing marijuana and cannabis because it's more efficient and it's a better product. And then legitimize the industry. Bring the walls down on this thing. You don't need to put the walls higher. Grandfathering in hemp and just making it an even playing field would be the best thing for the industry in the long term.
Yeah, I hear you. When you say, Guap, the government doesn't know what to do about it, or do you believe that, or they do know what to do about it? It's just whether or not they want to do something about it, because what we learned, and it was perfectly worded. No,
I look. When have you seen an initiative from the government or a follow through on a particular issue and said, "Wow, that was on time"? Extremely competent, thought through, comprehensive. It takes them a while. It always takes them a while. And this subject in particular, once you start doing the alphabet soup of cannabinoids, it's very difficult for some of these guys to wrap their heads around it as politicians. And it's just surprising. And so what they react to is, oh shit, there's a really bad problem, let's ban it. It's a lot harder, I'd say, to actually regulate it in a sensible way.
Well, some direction from Washington would help. I know they don't really understand or really know what's going on, but don't look now. But a year ago, only 8 states had laws on hemp cannabinoids. Now it's over 40. But as we know, the rules still vary wildly from state to state. But this is where some direction from Washington would help right now.
Yeah, but see, Brian, okay, Brian, valid point. But you're getting a taste of your own medicine because the hemp companies in Florida were donating money against Amendment 3 that was completely ass backwards. So I don't really care that argument. That argument's null void. You had hemp companies aligning with DeSantis to fight allowing more access to the plant in the state of Florida, as well as decriminalizing it. So if you want to get all righteous, like, you guys do the exact same thing to us as we're doing to you. So that argument is out the window.
I don't think there's us, you.
And I'm using it in that instance.
It's one industry. Molecule. It's one industry, and you've got businesses and individuals acting in their best interest.
Correct.
And you can't stop people from acting in their best interest, lobbying against something that would help their business, lobbying for something that would help their business. That's exactly what businesses do. That's why the best capitalism. That's corporate America. If you don't believe in any of that, just grow weed and give it away.
That's why the best solution to all of this is to bring the walls down completely, regulate the THC molecule, and let the free market decide. Interstate commerce, hemp, marijuana, let it all rip. Just put stringent regulations on the regulating of the D9 THC molecule and let the free market decide.
So when we look at 8 to now 40 states, and that's a lot of states stepping in on their own now, and you have to wonder how much Washington is going to be paying attention to this moving forward. Does this increase that a full-blown federal crackdown, or does it actually delay it in some ways? Like, again, I know you guys, there's no easy decision to be made here because there's a lot of moving parts, but when you have as many as 40 states involved, it's going to grab attention eventually.
I think the possibility of a federal crackdown is well above average. And when I say federal crackdown, you had the WSWA on Monday, like we said Wednesday, put out a statement that they were lobbying against the total ban and the language that was being brought forth in the Appropriations Committee. But they said it with nuance. Ban synthetics, ban all the garbage, carve out low-dose edibles and beverages that are D9 derived, and call it a day. Leave everything else to the state-run legal cannabis industry.
What's that look like then? If they call it a day on everything that you've just outlined.
It looks like a clean industry to me.
It looks like a clean industry, but obviously it needs to be done. But clearly, when this farm bill was put together back, 7 years ago now, 2018, for obvious different reasons to where we are today. But one thing's for sure, it's a hot topic that a lot of people are not too pleased about in so many different directions. But we're about to find out some telling information in the next couple of weeks, if not months. Anything else you guys want to add to that? No? You good? All right, let's move on to North Carolina now. I know we talked a lot about this last week, where Governor Josh Stein is calling the state's hemp market the Wild West and wants to bring real structure by forming a cannabis policy council that can recommend adult use legalization by 2026. Guap, this is your home state. You brought up some good things last week, but I wanted to actually talk a little bit further because I think this needs to get more attention. Like, how rare is it to hear a Southern governor openly push for adult use legalization? Because it's nice to see.
Yeah. I mean, this is not the rhetoric you're hearing out of Florida or Virginia.
Especially cracking down on hemp at the same time as well, right?
Again, I suggest everyone listen to the 25-minute interview on WRAL. We tweeted it out with Governor Stein. This was clearly a semi-scripted interview to clarify where he's at on it. He's starting this council. He's talking to other folks in other states, trying to understand what worked in their framework. He understands what's actually happening on the ground with these hemp dispensaries. And what he wants is cannabis shops, age-gated, safety testing, regulated, a low barrier to entry, please. Something that is more like Colorado in the openness
Yeah.
of it versus perhaps a limited license model carved up between 3 MSOs or something like that. So it's intriguing to me. I'm a little excited, but again, this is a council that is going to meet every other month and come up with a recommendation May of 26, and then a final sort of report by December of 26. So that, for me, I've been waiting for this long, right? It feels too far away, but at the same time, it's nice to have the governor backing it and a common sense approach, perhaps something a little different than what we've seen in other states, given the situation already on the ground.
So how serious is this reform, or is this political optics heading into an election cycle?
It's always hard to tell.
I wouldn't say the main takeaway here should be the seriousness of it. It should be the way that he's looking at it. North Carolina, if he pulls this off, like I said on Wednesday, is going to be a case study as to what Texas should have done, what every state should do right now. Hemp is proliferated in every state. Put the framework in line, put the framework in line, grandfather them in, create a free market that is regulated and governed by law, and let the market decide. It doesn't need to be a huge barrier to entry industry. It doesn't need to be this crazy thing that we've made it. You want to sell cannabis in this country? Here's a set of laws. Here's the regulation around the THC molecule in this jurisdiction. Let the market decide.
Yeah.
And when that happens, if that goes into place, I do believe that there will be a percentage of hemp operators that we're going to call bad actors that are going to go away, and good riddance, right?
100%.
Like those types of products and those types of people and any organization that is backing them that is not, on the up and up, bye, see you later. The good 100%. Actors do want this. And they do want this, and they're lobbying for it on the Hill right now. And I see I'm a bit idealistic, but I see a scenario where you have small craft with the C and big craft with the K, both succeeding in the state of North Carolina, and we get rid of the garbage products and operators.
Yeah. Something we have not seen, or maybe we have, and you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, but we've got a legal market that could be created from scratch without going through the medical phase first. Does that happen in any other state in the U.S.? I don't know if it has.
No. It's always been medical.
That's kind of where we're at right now, because you've got so many veterans, you've got tons of medical applications. None of that's happening. They've tried the approach of passing a medical only bill, and the football gets spiked every time. So it may be a situation where they're going full blown rec and medical at the same time,
which is going to be good, because you look at, like we've said, if you want to call a spade, Florida is a recreational market that's flying under the guise of a medical program. It's just a tax that everybody has to pay on their medical card every year to have access to the program. If you went to, and I don't want to speak for these guys, but I guarantee you today, if you put federal regulations in place for Delta-9 THC, went to Jim Higdon at Cornbread Hemp, went to Lucas at Hometown Hero, and said, guys, here's the rule book. Here's where we're going to govern you by. Do you want a license, and do you want not a federally, but do you want a legal business under this framework? They would say yes, and I guarantee you on day one, their businesses would pass muster to meet those regulations.
Yeah.
Those guys would swim. The rest of the garbage would sink. You wouldn't have the HHCs and the THCPs and the Delta Zero and all that crap. It's gone. The guys that are doing it
doesn't even
right
exist
today,
in Canada.
No, the guys that are doing it right today will be able to operate in the industry of tomorrow if regulated. That's why this all needs to happen. They're there. The companies in North Carolina, I bet you if we did a deep dive into North Carolina, boots on the ground, you would find companies that are sound operators that are creating quality products for consumers that, if given the chance to be in a regulated, licensed market, would be able to operate tomorrow and keep their entire business intact.
I agree. And that's the whole point as to what we're trying to vocalize week in and week out with this podcast. It's not about taking sides. It just wants to be regulated. But you're right. I think that the players that are playing by the rules would flourish. And that's what you need cleaned up.
And you know who wins in that scenario? The consumer.
Yeah.
The patient. Small businesses, medium businesses, large businesses. I mean, you truly can't set up a situation where everybody wins and the government gets to collect tax revenue on top of it. I mean,
yeah,
come on, let's go.
But David, also everything that I'm saying right now, there is nothing that I'm saying that's implying that any of this product should be sold in gas stations. These products should be sold in dispensaries, and the low dose stuff should be allowed at retail with age gating, just like tobacco and alcohol products, with strict rules around labeling, targeting kids, childproof containers. All of that stuff will follow. I'm talking about a fully regulated industry, not the Wild West, and you're seeing D8 sprayed Doritos. And that's not the masses, that's the minority. But at the same time, those products don't exist in a regulated, sensible market.
Just Chad, thanks. We're talking about. Go ahead, Guap.
I was just saying, currently the situation in North Carolina is not even close to where it's gonna be, and so we have to acknowledge there's going to be a before and an after look to all of this, and I can drive 5 minutes and buy a 1,000 milligram edible with THCP in it. That's a bit much.
So Candy Cane, this is all hypothetical, but this is under the guise of what Governor Stein is actually proposing North Carolina to do. So this could be put into practice if you see North Carolina come through on what the governor is actually proposing.
Yep. You brought up Canada, and Just Chad Thanks writes, do hemp products exist in Canada? 100% they grow hemp. It was legalized in 1998 under strict federal regulations. In Canada, CBD is regulated the same as THC as a controlled substance. Even if it's extracted from hemp, CBD must be sold through licensed cannabis retailers, not health stores or general retail like in the U.S. And when you factor in the loophole, Canada never allowed intoxicating products from hemp outside the Cannabis Act. No gray market exists.
But I think it needs to be said about Canada is they never needed hemp because traditional cannabis was being sold freely and openly far before legalization. They literally were black market stores in Toronto, Vancouver, etc., that were selling sophisticated, well thought out cannabis products.
Right.
Like you see hemp in the United States, you guys actually had the real deal being sold freely in Canada. There was no need for it.
David Ben's right.
It's amazing. No one wants THCP or THC zero HHC in Canada. It doesn't exist.
Can I ask you guys something? We always see the concern is regarding youths in a lot of these topics. Like, is it pretty simple for a kid underage to go into a gas station and buy this product without being carded?
I can't really speak about that as I haven't been in a gas station or really tried some of that in decades. But just anecdotally, when I was 17, if you wanted to buy liquor or if you wanted to buy alcohol with a fake ID, you go to a gas station because the liquor store 10 times out of 10 were going to deny you. They were much more stringent. The gas station, if you had a friend with a beard with a fake ID, they could walk in, buy beer, and not get questioned. The liquor store, we were always afraid to go into. That's kind of the dichotomy between a gas station and a dispensary for the most part.
And there's always the enterprising 18-year-old who's willing to buy a bunch of vapes and sell them to middle schoolers. I mean, think about the kids is always a very sort of like easy way to pull on heartstrings, make people take an issue seriously. So I think the idea that a lot of these stores are selling to underage kids is probably being overblown for effect, but I'm kind of okay with it, because it's like, at least they're using think about the kids in let's regulate the industry. I don't know how many 12-year-olds are walking into a vape shop or a gas station and able to purchase some crazy high edible. I don't know how often that's truly happening, but again, it does sort of speak to the situation that we're in, and something needs to be done about
it. And also, for all intents and purposes, like if kids want to get THC, they're going to get THC. They can find. You don't think that the kids of today are smart enough to go find it on Telegram or find it on Instagram, get targeted by ads, get it mailed to their house, go find whatever. I mean, the kids of today are so digitally ingrained. They don't need the gas stations. They're going to get it anyway. Like, I could find cannabis when I was 17, 18 years old from someone's older brother that happened to be selling it. Like, the illicit market's there. The products are there. Like, yes, I agree with Guap completely. The argument of targeting children and endangering children is valid to a certain degree. I do think it's overblown to an extent. But if we want to use that argument to push our initiatives, then I'm all for it, because
I bring it up because you always hear major concerns from Sam about how dispensaries are just, next door to a lot of schools, which never is accurate information. But I was just curious to see how much of is it a concern, because you always hear, especially Dan Patrick, talking about it 2 weeks ago in some of his press conferences. But
yeah, I mean, those mobile, it's not like those mobile hemp trucks that you see in like NYC or like heavily populated areas. We have in Fort Lauderdale too. There's like an ice cream truck that's been retrofitted to be like a hemp dispensary on wheels. Those aren't pulling up in front of schools and just selling product to kids.
So what do they got? The bells ringing going down neighborhoods, and like, you have
neighborhoods. No. It'll be like driving down Las Olas or driving down the beach.
That's wild.
It's literally a dispensary on wheels.
Honey, I've got to run.
Yeah.
Jake, when you hear the dub reggae, just go run towards the truck.
Jake, I assume that yes. Well, of course, you got Stephen Harper as your thumbnail, so yes, you are Canadian. There is a gray market for CBD and full spectrum hemp in Canada. Provide some more comments if you can. The Cole Memo, great tweet, and great meeting you this week in Chicago. I appreciate the donation. Really, really good guy. Really great guy. And I appreciate the support that you always provide us almost every single podcast. So it was great meeting you this week, my friend. Irish, today is Friday the 13th. Didn't even think about that. Anyway, we're fine. Let's now move on to some sports sponsorships topics. New poll shows that the majority of sports fans across leagues like the NFL, no surprise, the NBA, no surprise, NHL, and UFC support cannabis companies sponsoring professional teams. This doesn't surprise me when I look at some of the demographics. And I actually heard last week from a close friend of mine who was speaking to some analysts that work for some networks like ESPN within the NHL. And they were talking about one of the most topics that's never discussed in the NHL is how much cannabis consumption is going on amongst players. And you always hear about the NFL, NBA, maybe even the UFC, but not with hockey. But I'm not surprised by this poll data that's showing that how big of a deal this is for sponsorships and how people support cannabis sponsorships. But I know a couple of months ago, we had somebody saying, imagine if cannabis brands could sponsor with the UFC. Well, they could, but did you guys get a chance to see this? And, you wonder what the sponsorship landscape is going to look like with some of these leagues in, let's say, 10 years from now.
Cannabis companies would need actual money to sponsor sports teams. If
I get that, but I'm saying
I know, but in all seriousness, I mean, medical marijuana polls at 90% amongst the general public. Alcohol is destructive and is freely available to sponsor sports teams. Cannabis is actually used by athletes in a therapeutic sense. Yeah, I mean, it's I don't want to say rampant because that's not the right word, but it's popular. I think Travis Kelce just came out and said 80% of the players that he's played with have used cannabis in some sort of therapeutic or pain management capacity. Medical marijuana companies sponsoring athletes, sponsoring sports. I mean, it's going to happen. We've seen it in the UFC. I mean, you've seen it firsthand in the UFC. I don't think anybody's going to have a problem with it. And I don't think it's a big deal whatsoever. It's going to be the norm. Especially 10 years from now.
Well, I set it all up a couple years ago where I had a client of ours, cannabis client. Actually, we spoke to Floyd Mayweather's team and when he fought Logan Paul, and we had him wear all the swag when they came out, but all kinds of marketing opportunities with boxing and with the UFC. But where I'm going with this is, could we see cannabis beverages 30-second ads while you're watching an NFL football game in 10 years from now? I think it happens, doesn't it? No?
Yeah,
that-
I definitely think you could see. The first thing you're going to see is sort of these CBD move to wellness recovery type products, maybe at first. In terms of seeing, like how many beer commercials are in the Super Bowl? What year will we see a recreational cannabis commercial on the Super Bowl would be an interesting bet. But I do think that day will come.
I do too.
And I don't think it's gonna show someone smoking anything.
It'll never be that. That day will never ever.
I think a cannabis bet. I think the highest, if we were taking bets here, I would say that the highest percentage is a cannabis beverage.
100%.
Being put in a live ad on TV.
Combustible and non-combustible products was a huge topic with.
You can't advertise cigarettes for that reason.
And there was a big panel before you got to Chicago I was listening to, Bina Goldenberg and a few others, just about the tobacco industry and how they look at it. And they're not saying that this... Go ahead.
David, Sweetwater, are you joking? Sweetwater 420 is owned by Tilray, unfortunately, and they've done nothing with it at all in the hemp beverage or THC beverage market, which is a crime, to own that IP and not have that fully scaled out in a THC beverage format in the United States. I've been saying that for years.
Why is that? I
hear that number.
Erwin, if you want to sell the brand, I'll put a consortium together and buy the brand from you to launch as a THC beverage. But it's criminal. Good. It's criminal that they haven't taken that. Oh, David was kidding. Okay. But it's criminal that they haven't scaled that brand amongst THC beverages. It's perfect.
Well, he did say that one time he was perfect, probably a year ago, and it sounded like just to be compliant with the NASDAQ listing. It almost sounds like it's something that he didn't want to, walking a fine line, I guess, when it comes to that sort of stuff and being delisted. But there's got to be ways around that, knowing that the current framework with
he's not going to get him getting delisted for selling hemp beverages in the United States is a lie.
Then what is it then? Because it seems like common sense. It's a huge market right now. I don't get it, but should have him on again.
Yeah, ask him again.
Right. Okay, are we really going to go into this exercise study? Is this worth talking about?
It's on the headlines.
Okay. I don't actually know if I put this in my show notes. Can you lead off with this, Guap? What did we talk about?
Sure.
What's this exercise study?
Yeah, it's again like the sports sponsorships. You always have to consider the sample. Like sports sponsorships, that was 1,000 sports fans between the ages of 21 and 24 that lived in a state with recreational cannabis. This exercise study is a NUG MD poll of cannabis users, right? And the problem I have with it is there's no control. So it says interesting things like marijuana users are nearly 5 times as likely to regularly exercise than eat fast food. But like,
I would agree.
Where's the control? Where's the alcohol user group? So I don't read too much into the data here, but yeah. I would like to see a poll that's properly run with a control group and compared to the average American and that sort of thing. That does help bust the stereotype. Look around all the. I've been around a lot of rock climbers, mountain bikers, disc golfers. These are active pursuits, and the percentage of cannabis users among that group is quite high. But the other thing you got to keep in mind when you're talking about cannabis versus alcohol and exercise is, again, the consequences of a hard night drinking versus 20 milligrams of whatever, right? It's way different. You can get up the next day and you can climb. You try climbing hungover, it's the worst. It's absolute, or mountain biking, you're going to throw up. Anything like that. So the idea that, again, cannabis users allowing for actually a bit of a recovery process and being able to wake up the next day and keep hiking down the trail, I'm not surprised to hear that.
Yeah, I mean, that's why I don't drink a lot on golf trips. We play 36 a day, and waking up hungover to go play 36 again is not advantageous whatsoever. Cannabis, you feel completely fine and refreshed in the morning. How about you, Shad?
Well, I wish I could do those sorts of things. I took up all my drinking cards 18 years ago, and I do know how I felt the next morning, and there's a reason why I quit drinking.
Yeah,
but
I hate drinking now.
Yeah.
One of my good buddies,
I've often wondered, though, like,
yeah.
Is it full sober? I get the people say, is it California sober? Like, I'm full sober. Like, there is a couple of beverage drinks that were talking about their product and say, hey, quick, give him a sample and it'll give you a boost and make you feel like, a little bit happier, that sort of thing. And I said, well, I'd love to, but sober for 18 years. And it's something I just, wouldn't want a chance. But I won't lie. And I think this is probably the personality of any person that has addiction problems in the past, is that you're always curious to see, will it be different this time? And how would I react to that sort of thing?
You're not missing out on
3 months later, you're going to be ripping dab rigs. Right. I mean, if you know that about yourself, it's probably good to never start. But at the same time, I've had buddies who would credit cannabis with saving their life, coming back with PTSD and injuries from conflict, wartime conflict in Afghanistan. This guy, one of my good friends, he's I think he's over 90 days off alcohol as well, and he upped his cannabis intake at first, but that's also coming down a little bit as well. So the being able to replace alcohol with cannabis is also, it's just a healthier alternative.
Well, and I see that, when you bring up war veterans, because one thing they teach you when you have a drinking problem is that your problem isn't alcohol, your problem is life, and basically how you handle those situations. So when I see medical cannabis, especially with people that have been to war or in pain, I get the benefits of medical cannabis. Like, you are having some challenges in day-to-day life, and if it has its medical benefits, which was clearly outlined in the HHS report, then I guess that's where we are today, but why it's gained so much momentum in recent years. And I know it is frustrating for a lot of people right now, given the current conditions of the industry, from capital constraints, price compressions, share prices, all that sort of thing. But it's the industry is evolving. We're going through some changes that maybe people didn't necessarily think this was the roadmap to where we were going to go from point A to point B, but this is what's necessary. And you can either be angry about it and not accept it, or just pay attention as to what's next. And I think that's what we have to pay attention to, because if this industry was headed down, to like non-existent, all I can tell you is that the conference that we were at this week, there was more people this week at Benzinga than previous shows in the past in Chicago. There was a huge attendance that was involved. Some of it, yes, there are concerns, but there's also people trying to talk about solutions to how do we get through these sorts of things. And if you don't think people are interested, then I ask the question, why was there more people there this year than there was before? That's the encouraging thing about, the evolving part of this industry.
Yeah, I mean, cannabis use is up year over year worldwide for how many years in a row now, right?
Yeah.
So I keep saying that there's the problem is not demand.
No.
It's not.
No, the problem
Who's selling it? That's different. There'll be second mover advantage. There'll be a third wave.
Yeah, the problem is market structure.
I did one yesterday. There was this. I'm going to be actually releasing this. It was just the comparison of the cannabis and alcohol market. I think alcohol is 2 270 billion annually is what they do, if I'm correct, the overall industry. And it's still obviously a long ways to go for the cannabis industry. But as we said last Friday with the CEO of Browns-Forman making it public news that, it's a real concern. And when you've got an executive that size of company addressing that the younger generations, as we know, are changing their habits. Some of those 22, 23-year-olds in 10 years from now are 33, married with a family. And then you've got people of underage now that are in their early 20s. And, you just look at, you understand why they have these panels on earlier this week about what's it going to take for full-on big tobacco to get into this industry. And they need some, obviously, direction from Washington on the space, but it's definitely something they're watching very closely. It's not going to replace what they're doing right now. They're just pivoting through time, and they're trying to obviously enhance and widen their portfolio. But what's some of that product that you saw this week, though? What are they called? Zings?
Oh, the pouches?
Yeah.
The ones that we had were called Joey's.
Joey's?
Joey.
Those things are popping up everywhere.
They're huge. They've basically taken over a ton of the nicotine market.
Do you see the Sam seized on that panel? What's this? Perhaps no surprise. What's that? The Cole memo?
Not sure. Kevin Sabay might have been on the panel.
Sabay.
But yeah, those pouches are huge. There's actually a couple companies that do THC pouches.
Yeah.
Like the nicotine ones.
Oh, do they?
Yeah.
Canna dips, yeah.
FYI, Facebook seems to be relaxing its cannabis censorship. Now, when you search cannabis, instead of a warning about drugs, you can search posts, people, videos, etc. I have known that for a bit now, Mark. You're right.
Yeah.
Surprise, surprise, with a new administration in and the way Mark Zuckerberg has changed his stance on a number of things with Facebook. And we all know that Twitter is wide open. And even from an algorithm standpoint here at YouTube, since the HHS recommendation, which is going on 2 years now in August, we have noticed a difference even with Google and what they do and how they view it. But some of our videos, I did one, 5 weeks ago, and it's got 630,000 views, but it was about Terry Cole perhaps reviewing the rescheduling process once he's appointed as the DEA. So there you go. And I can't help but feel that this will really take off once we actually get an announcement. If we get an announcement, I think we will, about rescheduling. That's what will really take this whole community and really topic off into the mainstream. But until then, it's just plucking away and trying to get content every day and give some people some direction on what we're seeing and hearing on what could happen next. But okay, that's a wrap for today. Next week, I'm in Berlin. I fly out Tuesday, but Monday we'll have Michael Bronstein back to see if there's any updates from PA. But who you got teed up for next week, my friend?
Wednesday, I've got Hirsch joining me, and then Friday, I've got Adam Terry from Cantrip.
Nice.
On the show. And I will try and get Brady on one of those shows to see.
Brady Cobb.
Try and get him on Wednesday or Friday.
All right. That sounds like fun. Guap, keep holding the Twitter account down. And anything else you guys are actually, are you doing a mic drop today?
No, nothing crazy tonight. No crazy freestyle rapping for today.
Arns, can you bring up the mic drop music though? I always like
he needs it. He needs it.
Hey, Mark's right. Make sure you Google the food in Berlin, Chad.
Okay, I tried doing that the other day. Is there something I'm missing?
Yeah.
Google the food. Missing. You just Google restaurants Berlin. What else?
I just thought there was some sort of like everybody's saying Google the food.
Yes. It was just Google a fan of the show.
The actual word of the search engine. Google.
I don't want to have to explain it. It's way more fun to not explain it. You're right.
Oh, this is a boomer moment.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah. He's actually Googling the food.
Boomer. I'm not a boomer. I'm a Gen Xer, but Gen Xers can have this now. All right. That's it for today. Duck, go the food. Bring the food.
That's another search engine.
Jeff writes, wow. I guess that one flew over my head.
No, Jeff wrote, wow, because I'm going to have Brady on Wednesday or Friday of next week. He finally gets his wish.
Hemp really hurt Brady Cup.
We should ask Jeeves about the food.
Ask Jeeves about the food. Yeah. Chat GPT the food.
Yes. Anything else you guys recommend? Either one of you guys been to Berlin?
No.
I heard it's a great city.
Been to Germany, but not Berlin. I hear the discotheques are pretty fun there.
Tomorrow night is game number 5.
That is correct.
What an atmosphere that'll be. I'm not going to lie. Both atmospheres at both rinks. Well, it's the Stanley Cup Finals, but what a heck of a series.
Panthers are winning tomorrow night, and we're going to win in 6. It's happening.
Right. Should I make my prediction? Because
make a prediction for Oilers in 7, because that means that the Cats are going to win in 6.
All right, here we go. The Edmonton Oilers are winning game 5 tomorrow night. We'll recap it on Trade to Black Monday at 4 o'clock, among other things. You guys missing a big
hold on.
news?
What's the big news from Congress?
Hold on.
Did Tom post something?
Whalers in 10. Whalers in 10.
Come on, Emilio. Are you going to keep that music up, Burns? I like it.
I'm hoping he's not talking about the Elizabeth Warren letter urging Donald Trump to
and federal
to reduce arrests.
Oh God, this is a big nothing burger, guys.
Yeah, Elizabeth Warren likes to write those letters, but not do much for us.
Senator Elizabeth Warren is calling out President Donald Trump over his administration's failures to identify and eliminate waste in federal government spending, while recommending a series of ways he could cut costs, including ending marijuana criminalization.
Yeah, Emilio.
I'm having deja vu. I think that happens about every 3 to 6 months, actually.
I'm going to refer to him now as false alarm Emilio.
By the way, I was trying to put an evergreen video in yesterday, and I was putting in certain stocks and how their 5 to 6 year performance has been. No good. But it's not just about share price. Some of the companies have evolved and become much bigger. So still think there's upside potential. Elizabeth Warren has written 693 letters.
That is correct.
That's a big nothing burger for anybody. And I know she's been screaming that at the top of her lungs, including an interview that I had with her last September. Man, is she getting my face?
That was good.
Yeah. Well, you were there filming it. But all right, I'm dragging this on. We're now at the 48-minute mark. Gents, enjoy the rest of your day. Don't forget, everybody, to log on Sunday night. We'll have a full recap of the week based off all the information that we have each day in our newsletter. And speaking of that, if you want to find out information each day, make sure to scan that QR code and become a daily baked-in newsletter subscriber, keeping you up to date each day. It's delivered to your inbox weekdays, Monday through Friday at 8 a.m. Eastern time. Guap, AV, enjoy the rest of your day and weekend. See you back here Monday.
See you Monday.
Make love, not war, and Google the food.
Hey everyone, we just eclipsed 50,000 subscribers on our YouTube channel. We want to continue to grow this community. So if you haven't done so, make sure to subscribe now. We'd appreciate it very much here at the TDR Trade to Black podcast. As usual, let's keep the conversation going. So leave your comments below and we'll get back to you with any feedback that you want to learn more of. In the meantime, enjoy the rest of your day and we'll see you next time on our latest Trade to Black podcast.